Hello, welcome back to the channel. It's Natalie. I am playing with the beautiful Bouquet 3D embossing folder. We are revisiting the Blackout Technique. I've done this before and possibly you've done it before as well. I have sprayed a little bit of water on the back side. Now we're actually going to, which is sort of the front, come to think of it, because we actually are going to use the back of the image, the sunken part, the debossed part. And that's the beautiful thing about this technique. To me, it's very freeing, very easygoing. I'm not stressing so much with my coloring and making sure things are just precisely where they are, because the black is going to hide a multiple of sin, shall we say? Shall we just say that? If you haven't looked at the Blackout Technique, this is using clearly embossing folder, using the back side of that, coloring that in whichever way you see fit. I'm doing watercolors here. I've got some Arteza watercolor paints and I am using olive green. The center of my roses or my flowers are going to be scarlet red with a little bit of rusty red for the very, very center of the flowers. I can't think, I've done it once before on a smaller, like it was still a decent sized flower, but I can't think of what it was, but it was a tag. It was a lot smaller of an image sort of thing, but it was a tag. It didn't have, like the two flowers that we got here are very opened, which is going to get a little bit of the black on it. I've digressed for a second. Let's go back. If you haven't done this, what it is coloring the deboss side, as I mentioned. And then what we're going to do, so the background is actually raised up. So you color the image in whatever you see fit, and then you use I use a pigment ink pad to brush over, and I use it's much easier with a really big ink pad, and lightly brush over the whole image. Now, some of your flower, some of your petals or whatever you're doing is going to end up with a little bit of black. You do have to need a lighter hand, and then pick where you need more color. But we'll look at that a little bit later on. I remember what I did it with. I did it with just inks and just laying down some color with little blending brushes, that would be the better word. And this technique with watercolor, because I haven't done this one before, but I thought, let's give this a crack. Let's see how this goes, and I'm sure it's going to be lovely, but we'll see how it turns out. Makes it a lot more prettier. The blending brushes, they end up looking, honestly, it looks like a hot mess until you put the black on it. It really does. This is still, keep it relatively simple, because you're applying with a paintbrush clearly, rather than even the small blending brushes. You get ink in the raised areas as well as the debossed areas. So it has much more of a wow factor. I've mentioned before about the whole, mostly with masking, you do a little scene or something, and my card that comes back into my mind time and time again, I did mushroom houses for paperrose, and I had I don't know the technical word for the plant, but I had the bird of paradise. I forgot the name for a second there. Bird of paradise in the background. Until the masks come off, it looks so terrible. It looked so terrible. But when the masks do come off, it's just that magical moment. And that's a lot with the ink, using ink blending, because you don't have a lot of control even with the smaller brushes to define where everything is going. So then when you add the black in this sort of situation, it's just like got a real power of a effect to it. So this was much finer. But as I said, this has got the big flower, so you're going to get a much more rustic, I think. I feel like a bit more of an old world feel to it because of there's going to be black where it wouldn't normally be. That's my opinion. I don't mind it. I quite liked it. This was purely a experiment to see how it was going to come about and what was going to happen. This watercolor cardstock, I don't know where it is from or anything. It is okay. It's not my favorite, but if you've been with my channel for any length of time, you do know that I am moving. Yes, let's talk about that for a second. What fun is that? What fun is it? Like, and then of course things start. If you've been with my channel for a while, you may possibly remember that we got new carpet. We had a lot of leaking. We found another leak when we pulled up the carpet. Guess what? That's back. But, so it's not fun. It's apparently, and I'm starting to see it, it's one of the big stresses. I mean, there's other things that are very stressful, of course, but it's one of the big stresses because, you're selling this house. Where are you moving to? I don't know. Are you going to get the price you want? Are you going to be able to sell the house? Is it going to have to be passed in? Who knows? But yeah, one foot in front of the other, and we shall see what happens. So my house sort of gets staged the end of January 2025, and yeah, open houses in February, and we'll see what happens. So yeah, there's lots of fun. I say that very sarcastically. Tones in it. That is all dry. You can see on the back here, which is actually the front, it is still very much beautifully embossed. This is going to see, especially with that top flower, you're going to see a lot of ink get put down onto that, which I don't mind. You have to make sure that you have a very flat ink pad. It does work a heck of a lot better with the bigger ink pads. Therefore, I think because I feel like because it goes over the images nice, you have a bigger image to make sure that it's all flat. I do use the corner a little bit more when I have those deeper or those bigger areas where I want the black. You do need to make sure this dries, especially with such a big panel, or anytime you do it. You have to make sure it dries really well because you will end up with black on your hands because the pigment ink, it stays wet for quite a while. So you can see here, it was pretty, but it just makes it pop. The black just makes it pop and just, there's something about it. I think that went really well. As you can tell, as I said, the bigger flowers have more black, but yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. So there was this experiment to see what happens, and it's good. It's good, but you have to let go. You can't always control where that black is going to be, so you have to. I have put quite a few strips of foam on the back because this is watercolor cardstock. We've used the water with it, so it was a little bit bent or warped, but it's good. It's all good. This is going to help, and clearly I needed a little bit more. I had a little bit more ink on my hands. Sorry, there goes my phone. So my warning to you is basically let it sit for quite a while. This is the All Occasions Sentiment Pack. There is so many different, well, it's all occasions, so it's lots of different happy birthday, congratulations, thinking of you, all that sort of stuff. And you can strategically place your sentiment over parts that you don't quite like as much. So I thought this flower possibly had a little bit more, too much black, and I didn't want to put it at the top, so we're going to put that right in sort of the upper part of that. Anyway, that's my card for today. I hope you're well. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.